The Hollywood Bets Sharks are facing what could be described as a seismic double departure, with two of their most prominent Springbok stars reportedly set to leave Durban at the end of the current season. In what amounts to a hammer blow for the struggling franchise, both captain Siya Kolisi and dynamic scrum half Grant Williams are believed to be planning exits from Kings Park Stadium, with Kolisi's destination appearing to be halfway around the world in Japan's lucrative rugby competition. The news, first reported by South African publication Rapport, suggests that Williams, despite having signed a contract extension that was supposed to keep him at the Sharks until 2027, has decided to activate an early release clause and pursue opportunities overseas. The 29-year-old halfback, who has become an integral part of the Springboks rotation under head coach Rassie Erasmus, is understood to have attracted significant interest from clubs in both Europe and Japan. Given his pace, game management skills, and proven test match pedigree, it's hardly surprising that multiple suitors are circling for his signature. Williams' potential departure would be painful enough on its own, but the prospect of losing Kolisi at the same time represents a devastating 1-2 punch for the Sharks. The Springboks captain, one of the most recognizable figures in world rugby and a transformational leader both on and off the field, is reportedly being courted by the Kobe Steelers, one of Japan's premier rugby franchises competing in the Japan Rugby League 1. The Steelers have established themselves as major players in the global rugby market, and their interest in Kolisi demonstrates their ambition to maintain their status among the elite clubs in Japanese rugby. Kobe's recruitment strategy has been aggressive and forward-thinking. They successfully secured the services of All Blacks loose forward Ardie Savea for the current season, bringing in the former New Zealand captain to bolster their back row options. Savea is scheduled to return to Super Rugby with Moana Pacifica ahead of the 2027 season, which would create a vacancy in their loose forward department that Kolisi would be perfectly positioned to fill. The prospect of replacing one world-class back rower with another speaks to the financial muscle and sporting ambition of the Japanese club. For Kolisi, a move to Japan would represent a significant lifestyle change and potentially the final chapter of an illustrious playing career. The two-time World Cup winning captain has achieved virtually everything possible in the game, leading the Springboks to glory in 2019 and again in 2023. At 34 years old, the opportunity to experience a different rugby culture while securing his financial future would be entirely understandable. Japan Rugby League 1 offers competitive salaries, a high standard of rugby, and a chance for players to wind down their careers in a less physically demanding environment than the brutal week-in, week-out grind of European club rugby or the United Rugby Championship. The timing of these potential departures could hardly be worse for the Sharks organization. The franchise is currently mired in a period of significant instability, both on and off the field. Results have been disappointing across multiple competitions, and the coaching situation has recently taken a dramatic turn. Head coach John Plumtree, who was brought in with high hopes of turning around the Sharks' fortunes, has stepped aside following the team's opening Champions Cup match against French powerhouses Stade Toulousain. That defeat to the top 14 Giants proved to be Plumtree's final game in charge, bringing an abrupt end to his tenure at the helm. In the wake of Plumtree's departure, former Springboks winger J.P. Peterson has been elevated to the role of interim head coach. Peterson, a legend of South African rugby in his own right with 70 test caps and a reputation as one of the most dangerous finishers of his generation, now faces the unenviable task of steadying the ship during a period of unprecedented turmoil. Taking over a team that has just lost to one of Europe's finest and is facing the prospect of losing two of its most important players requires not just coaching acumen, but also strong man management skills and the ability to maintain morale in difficult circumstances. The loss of Williams would remove one of the Sharks' most consistent performers and a player who has developed into a genuine international quality scrum half. In 2024 alone, Williams featured in 11 of South Africa's 14 test matches, starting 5 of those encounters. His ability to inject pace into the Springboks attack, his tactical kicking game, and his work at the breakdown have made him one of Erasmus's preferred options at number 9, rotating with Kobus Reinik and Faf de Klerk in the national team setup. Losing a player of that caliber would leave a significant void in the Sharks' game plan. However, it's not all doom and gloom in the scrum half department for the Durban-based franchise. The Sharks boast considerable depth at the position, which may soften the blow of Williams' departure. Jaden Hendrickse, who has also represented the Springboks and possesses similar attributes of speed and attacking flair, remains on the books and would likely step into a more prominent role. Additionally, the highly rated Bradley Davids represents the future at the position, a young talent with significant potential who could benefit from increased opportunities. The franchise is also evaluating Ross Braid, who has been on loan at the club and may be offered a permanent contract depending on how the Williams situation unfolds. Despite having adequate cover at scrum half, the reality remains that Williams is a proven test-level performer, and replacing that level of experience and ability is never straightforward. His departure would remove one of the leaders in the Sharks' backline and a player capable of controlling games at the highest level. For a team already struggling for consistency and results, losing such a key figure could have ramifications beyond just the technical aspects of his position. The potential exit of Kolisi, meanwhile, would be felt even more acutely. Beyond his considerable abilities as a player, Kolisi brings leadership, experience, and a winning mentality forged through multiple World Cup campaigns and years at the pinnacle of international rugby. His presence in the dressing room, his ability to inspire teammates, and his status as one of the game's most respected figures cannot be easily replaced. Losing him would strip the Sharks of their most high-profile player and remove a direct connection to the Springboks' recent success on the world stage. The confluence of these potential departures with the coaching upheaval creates a perfect storm of uncertainty for the Sharks. As they navigate the remainder of the season, competing in both the United Rugby Championship and the Champions Cup, the franchise must somehow find stability and results while planning for a future that may not include two of their most important players. The Recruitment and Retention Committee will have their work cut out identifying suitable replacements and convincing current squad members that the Sharks remain a destination worth committing to long-term. For South African rugby more broadly, the continued exodus of top talent to overseas competitions remains a concern. While the Springboks have managed to maintain their position as one of the world's elite teams despite players being scattered across Europe, Japan, and other markets, there are questions about the long-term health of domestic competitions when they continue to lose their biggest stars. The Sharks' situation is symptomatic of broader challenges facing South African franchises in an increasingly globalized rugby market, where financial resources often determine which clubs can retain their best players. As the season progresses, all eyes will be on Durban to see how this situation develops and whether the Sharks can convince either or both players to reconsider their reported decisions. For now, though, it appears that the franchise is bracing for significant change, with two of their Springbok stars preparing to say goodbye to Kings Park Stadium.